Good evening, Ridgereckers fans everywhere. Welcome to the Week 12 recap video of the 2022 fantasy football season. I am your host, The Media, coming to you again this evening straight to your favorite device to watch this recap. Now, it was a good week. Defeated your worst nightmare to put another win in the win column. And we had some key losses, which is always a plus. And won by a big margin. So points for is always, especially this time of year, a big deal. So, yeah, let's get right into it. Before we go any further, however, we need to start with the disclaimer. This is a comedy. Okay? The opinions expressed herein are probably not my own, nor the individual even making the comment at the time. If you are my employer, a future employer, a previous employer, a neighbor, a friend, a coworker, someone I know, nobody I know, and you're offended by this, stop watching. Okay? If you're easily offended, if you need safe places, if you consider yourself to be a snowflake or someone that the world gives a shit about, this video is not for you. We're here to talk trash, sometimes say intelligent things, and talk about fantasy football. So again, if you find yourself offended by this, it's a comedy. Get over it. All right, as I alluded to, big week against your worst nightmare. Beat them down 110-95. Booty Lickers lost to Dynasty Reimagined. We're going to get into this more because that dude needs some wellness checks. He's had a rough season. Booty Lickers put up the league's low 82.78 points to the Dynasty Reimagined's 93. Jags lost to Gender Unicorn 106-114. Nut and Butt Sacks fell to Social Justice Warrior, laying down the law 113-170.96 points. That's a league high for the week. That has huge implications in the standings. And Roster Baiters lost to Team Suckaditka, put up a respectable 136 against the Roster Baiters' 89 points. Suckaditka is like jock itch, just won't ever go away. Anyway, game of the week had Missing My Young Ho defeat Avoid the Noid in a big game, 133-128. Like I said, that was the game of the week. Called it right here last week, and it was huge. You'll see why in a second. I mean, that's tough putting up 128 points and still losing, considering that would have beaten almost everybody else this week. So, yeah, no sympathy for Avoid the Noid. All right, after those huge games, Week 13 standings are as follows, and these are big. First place, Social Justice Warrior. Congratulations to him on climbing to the top. I will remind you that Social Justice Warrior pretty much sold it all last season for draft picks this season. He did win the 2020 season of our league. He then lost the 2021 season of our league on hopes that he will again win this year. So far that strategy is working out. Avoid the Noid is in second. Missing My Young Ho is in third. Like I said, Missing My Young Ho just beat Avoid the Noid last week. So this could be really big going into the final 2 weeks of the season. They are playing, as a reminder, for a bye in the playoffs. Suckaditka, Booty Lickers, and the media round out the top 6. Gender Unicorn, Dynasty Reimagined, and Jags still have a shot of making the playoffs if they win out with some key losses. Roster Baiters, Nut and Butt Sacks, and Your Worst Nightmare, not so much. And that is your standings. All right, Week 13 games. There's some big games here. Media plays Gender Unicorn. That's going to be a big one. That's 6 versus 7. Again, every game matters at this point for those teams fighting for the final playoff spots. But 6-7's a big deal. Booty Lickers goes up against Your Worst Nightmare. Booty Lickers has to win if they want to keep their playoff position. Jags goes up against Suckaditka. Not huge implications there, but potentially Jags could still make the playoffs if they win out. Nut and Butt Sacks goes up against Dynasty Reimagined. That's again a big one for Dynasty Reimagined. They have to win. Avoid the Noid plays the Roster Baiters, which, Avoid the Noid really going to try to hold on to that number 2 spot so they get that bye that week 1 of the playoffs. And in the game of the week, I've got Missing My Young Ho versus Social Justice Warrior. That's first versus third. Big implications for the same reasons I've already mentioned. So, game of the week, Missing My Young Ho, Social Justice Warrior. It's going to be a good one to watch. So your first owner's comment tonight comes from none other than the commissioner. Now, I did make a mistake in asking this question. I'm going to read you the question, and then I'm going to read his response verbatim per his request. So remember, this is exactly what he wrote me. Now that you've fallen out of the winner's bracket and have a losing record again, are you considering reimagining your reimagined dynasty? That was the question. Like I said, I did make an error, presumptively assumed and didn't verify that he had a 500 record at 6-6. So that's my fault. But here's his question, or his response to my question. Verbatim. I'd like to start by point out the sloppiness and inaccuracy of the media. Your whole question was based on the outright wrong information that I had a losing record. I have a decent 500 record, same as you and 2 other teams fighting to secure a spot in the winner's bracket. This attempted level of gaslighting hasn't been seen since Fauci promised the vax would prevent people from getting COVID. That's true. Not that the vax keeps you from getting COVID, but Fauci, yeah, you get the point. While it is correct that I'm not in the winner's bracket yet, as a team on the ascent, I'm confident we'll end up there. In closing, I'd like to address the victory denier, the booty lickers. I know times have been tough. Since week 4, you've had your gender reassigned by a unicorn, been spooged on by a roster baiter, been beating by a lame name jag, had to suck a ditka, had a warrior serve up some social justice, and most recently been completely reimagined of just how bad your season has become. That all said, your worst nightmare might not be over yet. It could beat up on you next. Pound, disgraced, and disbarred. So, excusing all his grammatical errors and misspellings, which you didn't see, that was actually pretty funny. When I asked the team owner of the Booty Lickers about all of these losses that have piled up in his loss column, this is what he had to say. This is the worst week of my life since last week. The worst season ever. I've been canceled, strangled with a ditka, had my gender reassigned, and lost in the middle of the night to the corrupt commissioner that oversees the point calculations and distributions. At this point, I've got to hand it to the evil puppet master of this league, Missing My Young Ho. These losses were not unfortunate coincidences, but instead premeditated acts of terror. After the draft, I was poised to win the Super Bowl virtually unopposed. I came blazing out of the gate, only to be tricked by the serpent in the garden. I tasted the forbidden crooked trade fruit, and it's been all downhill ever since. My rightful spot as the champion of this league was stolen from me. I'm essentially a combination of Stacey Abrams and Hillary Clinton. I deserve this. Yeah, if you recall, Booty Lickers and Missing My Young Ho made a very, very interesting trade earlier in the season. We discussed it fully. I believe that was week 7's video. You should go watch that if you want to catch back up on what he's discussing, but needless to say, it did not work out well for him in the end. And he does deserve this. I was fairly distraught about the condition of the Booty Lickers. So I went to the source, Miss Booty Licker, and asked her what her feelings on all of these losses were. Wow. I was not aware of his losing streak, but it makes sense why he has seemed not himself lately. Mr. Booty Licker hit the gym today and could only bench press 325 pounds for one measly rep. Sad. Sad face. I think I'm partly to blame because I've been giving him lots of booty lately. Giggity, giggity. I will find my chastity belt and lock this booty up, and perhaps his opponent this weekend will need a hefty dose of Domino's poison sent to their door. Maybe, but I fully endorse the chastity belt route and think you should definitely do that immediately. Speaking of Team Suckaditka, and I did mention this earlier, they just keep sticking around in the winner's bracket. I mean, I really don't feel like they've won that much, but I guess they have. I asked them what their secret was to success. There's no secret to my season, he responded. Team Ditka is fighting hard every week to stay ahead of Dynasty Reimagined, a.k.a. your worst nightmares major league team, a.k.a. handpicked farm system. There are allegations that are being investigated by the law offices of Booty and Licker that your worst nightmare is in fact simply a farm team for Dynasty Reimagined. The media seems to think those are true allegations and fact-checked as such. However, the investigation is ongoing, so we probably shouldn't make comments on an ongoing investigation. That being said, definitely a farm team. Considering team owner of your worst nightmares, best player, and keeper are now on Team Dynasty Reimagined, I think it's only fair to start giving them one half of the credit for the wins. I could get behind that. So, congrats on your victory, joint team owner of Dynasty Reimagined. I also think we need a league vote to make Dynasty Reimagined change its name to one half of your worst nightmare. Again, something I could get behind. Just prior to the trade deadline, Missing My Young Ho made a trade with Nut and Buttsacks that involved some draft picks on Nut and Buttsacks' behalf. That being said, some teams have already sold off draft picks for next year in hopes of rebuilding, recognizing this year to be a lost cause. I asked team owner Missing My Young Ho about this, and this is what he had to say. Trade had to be done to make a push for a top 2 seed, which included taking down the number 1 Domino's Plague mascot. Next up, the new number 1, the Big Hat Social Justice Warriors. There you go. I caught up with team owner Avoid the Noid and asked them about their 3-loss streak they're currently suffering from. What I think is relevant and what the media should be looking into the following shocking accusation. Our commissioner is pro-vaccine. The proof is simple. Last week I sent Domino's Pizza over to you, the media. You ate that pizza. Then everyone in your house got horribly sick except for you. The only logical explanation is that Domino's Pizza not only tastes horrible, but is woke and is slowly trying to vaccinate the population of this great nation through an edible cheese and marinara sauce. Now, I'm not saying our commissioners worked with our fraudulent farmer bro to try and vaccinate the members of this league through Domino's Pizza on draft night, but I also wouldn't put it past either of them. I believe we should hire the law offices of Booty and Liquor to conduct a full investigation into our commissioner's malfeasance. Until then, I am suggesting that you, the media, should try and counteract the Domino's Pizza vaccine by using your worst nightmares method and drink lots and lots of Fireball and Bud Light. Good luck. Again, because I'm the media, I'm a journalist, I have integrity, and I'm caring. I contacted Avoid the Noid's wife to ask her about the 3-loss streak. She said this through the cracked door. A few things. 1, I didn't know he had fallen out of first place. 2, I didn't know he lost 3 in a row. And 3, he knows we are a family of winners, so he'll lock it up. I then went on to ask her if his losses were affecting him in other ways. Was he cursing at the TV more? Did he have strange cravings for Domino's Pizza? How was it affecting his sex life? At which point she slammed the door in my face. But if her eyes could talk, they would say yes to all 3 of those questions. Finally, I spoke with our new league leader, Social Justice Warrior, and asked him about how the strategy was working and paying off this season. Definitely a test coming up this week. Nothing in this league is guaranteed, and there's no trophy winning the regular season. Every night I rub the loser's trophy, and probably something else, to remind myself of the sacrifices I made last season to get me to this point. Then I say a quick prayer and thank God for people like Greta Thunberg, Anthony Fauci, and the Monahan brothers. If you don't know who they are, look them up. I had to look them up. I then took a sweet sip of social justice juice and proceed to watch my team score 170 points. This is a long enough comment. I don't think much else can be said at this point. Well, there you have it, fans. Your league leader, Social Justice Warrior, bringing truth bombs. And stay woke, folks. All right, fans, that wraps up the Week 12 recap video. Remember, there are 2 weeks left in the regular season. Top 6 teams go to the playoffs. Bottom 6 teams go to the loser's bracket. There are a lot of intricacies involved with our league concerning those 2 situations. I will cover all that and more in next week's video. Now, as you go into the weekend, remember, fantasy football is really all that matters. I mean, my family's got a birthday this weekend. I'm going to completely ignore it because, fantasy football matters. Family doesn't matter. Remember, talk trash, beat your neighbors.